rights have been taken away. Fight for it. Come forward. Don't be cowards. Don't reduce yourself. Don't inferiorize yourself. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Sir, truly, your thoughts have enlightened our minds and shown us that the peaceful path lies in our own very institution here. You left us with a deep reflection now upon the causes, negativity, ignorance of the current situations that the whole world is facing. To sum up, I knew your secret, your belief, your staunch belief in karma. As one says, so one reads. Jai Sri Karni, Jai Sri Karni. Moving on to our next session now is one of the most awaiting moments for the MGI RTI family here. To hear our newly appointed Director General MGI RTI, Mr. Rajkumar Ramperta, CSK, to address us a few words on this occasion. Sir, please do us the honor.
I would like to thank you all for the heart-filling welcome you have made today for me. MGI is not a new territory for me. As a member of the Parliament and Parliamentary Private Secretary, I have attended many functions and I've got to know quite a few people here. And I've always been an impressive place for me. And like somebody said, karma. And I got some comments on my Facebook that that's what you call karma. You must have done some good work somewhere to end up in MGI, like our chairman said, an old young-looking man. Mr. the Chairman, Mr. Bamlal Mahadev, a great philosopher, as you have just heard him, how knowledgeable he is, and what vision he has of this great institution. Mr. Vishal Jari, the chairman of the standing committee, Mr. Roshan Gudna, the head of Department of Philosophy, Dr. Kunju, the director of MTI, Mrs. Karisal, the registrar of MGI, Dr. Vedika Adrian-Chikori, associate professor, and all our dignitaries from abroad who are watching us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with immense pleasure that we are gathered today to celebrate the United Nations International Day of Peace at the Mahatma Gandhi. I thank you all for attending today's event and also extend my special thanks to the Department of Philosophy and the staff of the School of Indiological Studies for organizing this special event. Coincidentally, today also marks my first address as a Director General of Mahatma Gandhi Institute, and I rejoice that it happens to be on the International Peace Day. I can reassure you all that I come in peace. I will ensure during my tenure that the MGI's core value of peace and harmony will prevail and be leveraged to promote a results-oriented approach coupled with educational innovation. Let us ponder together on the motivation of the United Nations to establish the International Day The original resolution was voted unanimously by the United Nations General Assembly nearly 40 years ago on the 27th of November 1981. The same resolution was in 2001 consolidated by the UN General Assembly to another unanimous vote and thus fixed the 21st September as the International Day of Peace, with the aim of strengthening the ideals of peace through observing 24 hours of non-violence and ceasefire. The day which was selected for the observance of the International Day for Peace was the Tuesday or the third week of the month of September, and this year it falls on the 21st. The word peace itself is used to describe the cessation of conflicts. It means a state of quiet, of tranquility, and describes a relationship between people characterized by respect, justice, and goodwill. Peace is achieved when people are able to resolve their conflicts without violence and can work together to improve the quality of their lives in terms of, firstly, power, secondly, income and assets, thirdly, fairness, equality and justice, and safety. Today's observation of the International Day of Peace is very special. The theme which has been selected by the UN Secretary General for 2021 is recovering better for an equitable and sustainable world. The COVID-19 pandemic, as we all know, has inevitably influenced the theme as the UN wants to engage our collective self across all spheres of life to generate and implement ways and means to ensure that all the world attempts to weakly stand back on its feet. No person is left behind on that journey, especially the ones who have been most impacted. The UN resolution, which passed in 2001, has its first and main pillar the initiative that countries should aim towards fostering a culture of peace through the medium of education. This is where we at MGI should equally focus. Indeed, our institution is internationally recognized for its wealth of knowledge and expertise in the field of inclusive education. We have upheld high standards in delivering educational excellence in the core principles of providing education and values to students of all ages and backgrounds. I'm proud that the MGI has never backed down in its ultimate aim of disseminating knowledge and values even during the most difficult times. Hence, at the MGI, we are well placed to raise the bar in our peace endeavors and to imagine better ways to achieve deeper and lasting peace. We are also well placed to infuse our lessons learned into the global multicultural society. The observance of the International Day of Peace provides a valuable opportunity for us to assess our progress in the school of peace and resolve to do more. It reminds us that in our current day and age of immense scientific progress and global development, peace is still a fragile dove. Therefore, it reminds us that our precious dove still needs much more care and protection. Moreover, the International Day of Peace also reminds us that the pursuit of peace is a collective pursuit. We as individuals should constantly reassess our personal attitudes towards peace itself and stop the defeatist belief that achieving peace is real. Indeed, all or most of the problems being faced by the world are man-made, and therefore, with sheer determination, they can evenly be solved by man itself. The idealist dream of an absolute, infinite, and universal concept of peace has remained a dream throughout history. However, I would urge you to focus on is more practical and achievable evolution of peace. A gradual evolution rather than a sudden evolution. Peace is in fact a process of avoiding and solving conflicts, issues, and problems. As we all know, there is no universal key or solution to solve issues. Genuine peace is achieved through a gradual, dynamic evolution and adoption by all human and societal institutions of concrete action and effective agreements, which are in the interest of all concerned. History teaches us that enmities and disagreements between individuals, institutions, and nations do not prevail eternally. Hence, the achieving of peace requires individuals to live together in mutual tolerance and understanding by settling disputes justly and by adopting a powerful balance, moderation, and realism. Peace thus begins with ourselves and in our homes, family, neighborhood, school, and workplace. To conclude, let us all resolve to be better students in the school of peace, so that our homes and neighborhoods, our countries, and our 21st century can radiate peace. Let us strive towards achieving peace today, tomorrow, and every day. I would like to thank you all for your attention. Wish you all a very meaningful and inspiring International Day of Peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We all inspired by your great words. Once again, thank you for believing in the MGI family. Your assurance being given to us for leading us to another level in promoting peace, values, harmony, quality, success, and peace throughout our journey. Professor, the day of peace will always fly here at MGI. It's high time now, ladies and gentlemen, to hear the man who has been in close regular contact with the school, ensuring no stone is left unturned and that everything is in perfect order for the event. Please welcome Mr. Richard Yari, the chairman of the standing committee. Sir, please.
To be honest, I'm not peaceful at all. To speak after my two gurus. Well, let's have the protocol observed first of all. Mr. Pramlal Mahadev, Chairman of MGI RTI Council, Chairpersons of various standing committees, Council members, Mr. Rajkumar Rampratap, CSK Director General of MGI RTI, Dr. Mrs. Kunjal, Director MGI, Mrs. Kaulisa, Registrar, Dr. Mrs. Vedika Adayal Chkori, Head of School, Associate Professor, Mr. Roshan Budna, Head Department of Philosophy, academics from School of Indological Studies, scholars, philosophers, distinguished guests, peace lovers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and please accept my pranam and my humble greetings and obeisances. It gives me real thrill to address you lovely people today. As chairperson of the standing committee, under whose purview falls the School of Indological Studies and Philosophy, it is a matter of pride to see the very heart of MGI bubbling with life today. A big round of applause to you people, because I can feel the vibes coming from your heart, because you're being given your due respect, the place warranted in this institution. Because without the brain, without the grey matter, we'll be at a loss. So this is due to our chairman, who has been guiding us with his wisdom. All the brainstorming session that we have had over the couple of months before we come up with this idea of standing committees, you can see today it is bearing its fruits. So, during my first meeting, I'm sure my friend Roshan will recall, because he was the last one to speak, and I had launched a challenge to the beautiful brains of this institution to come up with such activities that will make the MGI come out of the broken track, the beaten track, and shine with all its glory and glamour. And you people have taken up this challenge, and this is why I'm feeling proud today. You are making this institution visible, not only at national level, but also at international level. See, it has always been our main concern at the council meeting that you are being underutilized. You have tremendous potential, but this potential is not being tapped. So it's now or never. And what I have noted personally, and this has been rightly pointed out by the chairman, there is a paradigm shift from lethargy to galvanized mobility, from indolence to exuberance, from slumber to splendor. So hats off to the whole team who has left no stone unturned to meet the challenge today. If my friend has not slept for the whole weekend, because I know I've been following his word, we have been in communication till late at night. Hopefully our wife really gave us a punishment for that. I slept, I went to sleep 2 in the morning because I hadn't done my homework. I was given some Sanskrit text to practice, but it was very difficult. It's the first time that I'm going to read Sanskrit in front of you, so, and the correction of experts here. But the work is being done. We are result-oriented. So at the same time, I would like to seize this platform today to extend a very warm welcome to a very good friend of mine, very bosom friend of mine, the new DG, newly appointed to MGI. So a warm welcome to you to the MGI family. And hopefully we will see eye to eye, not an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth, but to see eye to eye regarding the forthcoming projects for the upliftment and betterment of the MGI. Now, talking on the main theme of today, peace. You have read the brief that has been circulated to you. It seems that in this age of the Kali Yuga, we have all been so ensnared in this quagmire of Maya that life has become a mad race against the clock. Almost every day we hear people complaining that, you know, life is so hectic, we are so busy, we have been juggling with so many activities from morning till night. So we are all looking for peace. Let us all be honest today to acknowledge this bitter truth that our life has become hectic. In this endless pursuit for material achievements, out of this distress, we are in the lookout of that magical formula that will provide us peace and happiness. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the disease of the present era, without any doubt, is the absence of peace. And without peace, there is no happiness. You know, the thing is that we are looking for peace in the wrong direction. The journey of human life in this material world is uncannily molded in such a way that we have entangled ourselves in an infinite cobweb of desires, ambitions, and cravings that have become a sort of prison for the mind and the soul. At various stages of our life, we have been programmed to compete against each other, or at least against ourselves. You need to be the best, you need to be number one, and rule number one is never be number two. That's the problem. Everybody wants to be laureate. I mean, in so doing, we are forgetting to live each and every minute of our life, my dear. We are generating all types of insecurities and fears. Fear of failure. What is it if you fail? Look at all the billionaires who are leading this world. They were failures. They were tagged as failures. But yet today they are the world's best leaders. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jack Ma. Who are these people? Brilliant scholars? Think about it. Food for thought. Our whole life is spent trying to prove to the world that we are successful. Unfortunately and sadly enough, we have the tendency to measure success in terms of material achievements, our education, our titles, our job, our status, our house, our cars, and the list is endless. I'm not saying that it is not legitimate to pursue material ambitions, desires. No, we should take this analogy of the ship. Do you know the analogy of the ship? Where does the ship stay? Where does it stay? In water, in the ocean. But does it allow water to stay in it? If it allows water to stay in it, that would mean the end. So let's take this simple example. We are living in this material world, this samsara, this body has been given to us like the ship to cross this material world. But the thing is that we have identified ourselves so closely with this ship that we have forgotten our journey. The strangest and perhaps the most tragic thing with this human existence that we fail to grasp is that we came to this world empty-handed and we will depart empty-handed, yet we spend our entire lifetime hoarding wealth, wielding power, clinging to relations that are transient. Objects were made to be used, ladies and gentlemen, and people were made to be loved. So what we are doing is complete perversion. We are using people, and we are loving objects. This is where peace stops. All right? Talking about peace is not just to remain non-violent, avoid using weapons. Let's go a step further, a step ahead. What about experiencing love and compassion for others? Have you ever thought about this? A couple of days back, I met my guru. We were talking about pardon, mercy, and all. He told me, have you been able to forgive all those people who have used you or done you harm? Proudly, I said, yes. Then he said, in your prayers, were you able to shower love and blessing to them? You know, this left me speechless. I kept thinking, this level of thinking was beyond my grasp. You know, it's easy, okay, you have done me wrong, I forgive you. The past is the past, gone is gone, let's move on. But blessing that person who is our worse enemy, who has hurt us, can you shower love to that person? Food for thought again. Great conquerors since ancient civilizations had cherished the hope to conquer this world. Let's take Alexander the Great. Should we say rather Alexander the Great Idiot? Isn't it? He left everything empty-handed. We can't be the master of this universe. History bears testimony of the futility of human vanity. We are bound to suffer and to be distressed by our failure of fulfilling our unlimited desires. Under such conditions, peace is impossible. Without knowledge of the self, peace is impossible. So let me try my homework now. Let it become a classwork. Under the correction of the experts. Vihaha kaman yaha sarvam. Pumams charati nishpraha. Nirmamo nirhankara sa santim adhikachati. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. Quote from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 71. A big round of applause for me, ladies and gentlemen. With all humility, I'm doing it for the first time within Sanskrit. I know the pronunciation was not up to the mark, but I did it. I broke the ice. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot find peace if we fail to realize who we really are, our true identity as a soul, as a jivatma, as the root, which is pure light and love, a reflection of the Supreme Being, the Super Soul, the Paramatma. We are not just a drop in this ocean, but rather the ocean in a drop, as says Rumi. As such, we have all the divine attributes to become the instrument of peace and love if we shed away our ego and abdicate ourselves from meaningless quests that will lead us nowhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this human existence is a gift bestowed upon us to serve a much higher purpose, where the soul unites with the super soul to achieve a state of eternal bliss. Sat-Chit Anand, as stipulated by the Holy Scriptures. Some will call it moksha, while others will call it nirvana, or wahadatul wujud in Islamic Sufism. Even in the Bible, I quote, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled." John 14, 127. So if the root cause of suffering is attachment and greed, to find peace we need to go for introspection and self-abnegation. Meditation is the inner path that will guide us in discovering our true identity after unveiling the villains hiding in us, our own ego, greed, anger, lust, envy, jealousy. This enlightenment brings an awakening that will undeniably heal ourselves from all forms of delusions. Only then we attain peace and channel it in our family. So this has to do with the microcosm and the macrocosm theory. Many of you are aware about this. If there is peace in the individual, that individual will emanate peace in the family, and peace in the family will expand in the community and throughout the country. And in this way, it will heal the world. So if we really want to heal the world, let's start by healing ourselves. Ultimately, the individual consciousness blends harmoniously with the cosmic consciousness, and we realize that everything is interconnected. The whole world is one big family. You know it, my dear friends, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. And even in the Quran, 49.10, it is mentioned. Humanity is but a single brotherhood. So make peace with your brethren. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clean this dirt from our heart and let our soul radiate selfless love and compassion so that peace can prevail in all spheres of our life. For sure, we are talking about the COVID-19, which has compelled us to reinvent ourselves, to adapt to the new normal, to slow down our frantic pace so as to review our concepts of development, which were based mainly on the exploitation, or should I say, over-exploitation of natural and human resources. With this frame of mind, the MGI and RTI Council, under the chairmanship of Mr. Mahadev, is aiming at a paradigm shift, as I already mentioned, to tap the full potential of our academics here, to come up with, solutions, measures that bring peace to this country, collaborating with other partners, other organizations or associations that promote philosophy or philosophical thinking, meditation, yoga, so that we can relieve much of the world's anguish. Our seers and gurus have been doing it since time immemorial, and it is our turn to ignite this spark of enlightenment in our leaders, future leaders also, so that wise decisions are taken for the betterment of mankind. So as the world is slowly recovering and healing, let us reflect on the model of education and the model of development that we want to have. Are we going to allow greed and ego to lead us once again? As Aristotle has rightly said, I quote, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. End of quote. Emotional intelligence and intuitive knowledge are presently subject of profound studies to unlock the hidden potential of our students. Here at MGI, we are setting a new trend where holistic education is harmonizing the intellect with the heart, so that our students become full-fledged individuals who emerge as an asset for society. In this way, our little island has become the emblem of tolerance, mutual respect, harmonious relations that prevail among all communities, a kind of mini United Nations to serve as an example to the world. So, I'm going to end this part of my speech on another challenge. Hopefully, our great Mateli are going to take it bravely. I see my friend, Mr. David. So my challenge today is this dynamic team that we have here. Let us transform MGI into a kind of umbrella organization to host all philosophical societies and sociocultural groups that promote Indian and Asian culture, language, values. Give them this platform for exchange of ideas and philosophical concepts to enrich the mind and the heart, a legacy that we will leave for the future generation. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. These are the words of Swami Vivekananda. When I read this, I feel the vibes. I hope you feel the same. And this allowed me to write a poem. I'm not a poet, but I do write from time to time. So I would just like to share a few lines that I wrote at 1 in the morning. The title is Peace, the Calling of the Heart. Try to ponder on it. Peace is the calling of the heart as humanity gets torn apart. Race, color, creed, caste. Till when will they last? Yet in the face of adversity, humanity has infinite capacity to demonstrate solidarity and generosity. This shows the redeeming quality of the heart, purity. At a point when Mother Earth is ailing, let's stop our endless craving and start praying and believing we are the instrument of peace. Our soul is manifestation of peace. May we all be bestowed with eternal peace. This is the calling of my heart. Peace. May peace be upon you all. And there's a prayer from my school. I am at SSS Poems, and there's a prayer that we read every morning. So I would just like you to focus on this prayer. It's very, very deep. It's from St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me show love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, not so much to be understood as to understand, not so much to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are awakened to eternal life. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for your deep, heartful, philosophical thoughts shared through your address. We will surely take up the challenges set up by the Standing Committee to transcend to another level. With our talented, creative minds that we all have been for years, and with our experiences, creating beautiful souls to be a better human being. We are now moving to our last item before we start the academic sessions. I have the pleasure to call upon Mr. Budna to launch the International Peace Day video and launching of the YouTube channel. Mr. Budna, please do us the honor. I humbly request our guests to move to the front rows to watch the launching ceremony. Thank you very much. Everyone, please enjoy this video peacefully to heal ourselves.
Thank you, Rashmi. So in line with the objectives set by the Standing Committee of the school, Mr. Viale is here. Okay, to develop more visibility, as you mentioned, the department has come up with a YouTube channel, Philosophy MGI, where all the multimedia and other activities, events relevant to the school, the department will be uploaded. And today, we're going to have a trailer of our YouTube channel, followed by small video, tomorrow's event. We made an effort to reach out the maximum number of stakeholders to find what peace stands for them. So this small video presents the recordings that vary from different age groups that we have, from primary school kids to tertiary students, and even we do have social workers to politicians. So here I would like to acknowledge the support received from my good friend and academic associate professor, Dr. Vinay Budari, and a special thanks to our dear student, Pratibha Lochan, for mounting this marvelous video. Thank you for the support. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure now to invite for the viewing of the trailer and the video projection. Thank you.
Our village father will share a small message to you. May the love we are sharing spread its wings, fly across the earth, and bring new joy to every soul that is alive. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all the beings in the world be happy. जर आपल्या विचारात, आपल्या शब्दांत व आपल्या कृतीत सुसंवाद तरच आपल्याला शांती प्राप्त होईल. Harmony in our thoughts, in our words and deeds will definitely bring peace.
तन को गमे तन शत्रु हो, तन शांतमे तन को रक्षा, दया चित्तम माम, तन संतोषमे स्वर्गमो, तन दुखमे नरकमंड्रो, तथ्यमो सुमति. Peace is equal to truth. Peace is the presence of justice. Peace is always beautiful. True peace is less hatred, more love, less war, and more respect for Mother Nature and for other
Cases are bad, happiness and thinking good of all.
इस कोलाहल भरे युग में मनुष्य क्या चाहता है? वह शांति चाहता है, मन की शांति. लेकिन कभी-कभी विपरीत परिस्थितियों से इतना घिर जाता है कि कमजोर पड़ जाता है और कभी-कभी अनहोनी भी हो जाती है. हे मित्रों, अगर आप अपने उस मन की शांति को बनाए रखेंगे, तो किसी भी परिस्थिति में आप विफल नहीं होंगे. क्योंकि कहा जाता है, कोशिश करके कभी
Peace is the product of our reactions.
ಈ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಯೋಗಿ ದೇವರ ರಾಜನ ಉಪರ್ಯ ಚಿತ್ರ ಜಾತಿ ಕುಲಗಳನ್ನು ಜನರೇದ ಬಂಧುಗಳೇ ಭಾವ ಬರವತನ್ನು ರಾವು ಮಾಡಿ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಕುಂಟುಚುಂದು ಜಗಮದುರೈ ಭೂಮಿ విశ్వరావిరామ నిలురవేది. అందరికీ ప్రపంచ శాంతి దినోత్సవ శుభాకాంక్షలు.
Peace is an inside job. Peace is a gift to each person. A peaceful person is a support person. Peace is happiness.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you. I hope that you had a very peaceful, very close to our hearts. Everybody have expressed their views, their thoughts, and mostly their feelings about what is peace. Happiness cannot be far behind a grateful heart, and a peaceful mind. We would like to cherish the unflinching support, care, love, and guidance with a token of appreciation to all our distinguished guests who have set the wheels turning to ensure today's event be a successful and a fruitful one. I would like to call some of our beloved students who are here from the Department of Philosophy to present the bouquets to our chairman and LTI. Sir, please accept the token of appreciation. We welcome our Director General MGI LTI, Mr. Samvad, please. The Chairman of the Standing Committee, Mr. Biahi, please. And our Director, MGI, Dr. Kunja, please. Thank you very much, our beautiful souls. We now move on to our second session, that is the academic session. And I have the privilege and honor to welcome our head of the school, Associate Professor Dr. Vedika Shekhar, to lead the session and to convene. Thank you very much.
All protocol observed. Namaskar and good afternoon. As mentioned by my friend Rajshri, I shall be proceeding with the academic session of this event. At the very outset, I would like to welcome again our eminent speakers from India and Romania. I wish to extend a warm welcome to Professor Prishikant Pandey, who has joined us from Allahabad University, Professor Panda, who has joined us from Thailand, Bangkok. Thank you very much for your support and your presence here. Ladies and gentlemen, while listening to our dignitaries, the common concern that echoed in their respective addresses calls for a need to re-examine and to reinterpret the concept of peace in light of the existential challenges for a better, for an equitable, and for a sustainable future. Bearing the name of one of the greatest apostles of peace the world has ever witnessed, the Mahatma Gandhi Institute is committed to preserve and safeguard the virtues and principles promoting harmonious existence and peaceful living. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to open the interlocution with the preamble to the UNESCO Constitution. I quote, "Since wars begin in the mind of man, it is in the mind of man that defenses of peace is created." I shall proceed with the introduction of our first speaker. Our first speaker is Professor Abhase. Professor Abhase needs no introduction. She's been a part of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute. But as the tradition demands, Professor Abhase is a gold medalist. She holds a PhD and a DLED in philosophy. She's a professor and currently the Vice Chancellor of Bhupendra Narayan Mandal University, Madhepur, India. She has held the position of ICCR Chair, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, at the Mahatma Gandhi Institute. She has been lecturing and tutoring to postgraduate and undergraduate students for the past 40 years and has also delivered several specialized lectures on various fora. Professor Singh has participated in more than 80 national and international seminars, conferences, and symposia. She is the recipient of residential fellowship from Indian Council for Philosophical Research. She has more than 70 research papers published in Indian philosophy, gender issues, Buddhist issues, metaphysics, ethics to her credit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the immense pleasure now to listen to Professor Abha Singh. Namaskar, Professor Abha Singh.
Namaskar, Dr. Vedika. It is for the first time that I get the opportunity of calling you Vedika, because as long as I was there, you were pursuing your PhD. So
thank you very much.
And I am feeling so nostalgic on seeing this Subramaniam Bharati Hall and the faces with whom I used to interact daily. And it is like looking at my home that I left 3 years back. So with all these words, I am thankful to Vedika ji for her introducing me in a kind way and a nice way. Now I begin with the protocol, and in this I would like to address Mr. The chairman of MGI RTI, Mr. Pamel Mahtu, and Director General Mr. Rajkumar Ram Pratap, and Chairman Standing Committee Vishal Baheri, and Dr. Kunjal, and Rajshri Benumadhu, and Mr. Budhna, and so on and so forth. And I would like to, I'm very glad that on my request, Dr. Panda is present here. And I also welcome Rishikant Pandey, as Vedika said, he has also joined. And I am also glad that Professor Sabhajit Mishra has also joined. And I extend my greetings to all those who have connected to this program in online or offline mode. First of all, I extend my thanks to MGI, and my special thanks goes to Dr. Vedika and Dr. Kunjal for giving me this opportunity and this platform. Now, to begin with, the title suggested by UNO for the International Day of Peace is recovering better for an equitable and sustainable world. And of course, this recovering is recovering from the devastations of COVID-19. COVID-19 has left behind all the past devastations, because in the way that you can say that area-wise or intensity-wise, humanity has faced many devastations, but this devastation has something special with it. It has put a jolt on global economy, immense suffering that has been caused due to COVID-19, and it has upended millions of lives throughout the globe. In this pretext, the basic question that arises in one's mind is, in the process of recovery, is it possible to follow some code of conduct that would be mandatory for all, so that it would be easier and faster for humanity to recover? Behind this statement of mine is the fact that people throughout the globe have been facing various restrictions since last 2 years. And therefore, they appear to be somewhat less diligent in the process of dissemination of justice. When this pandemic struck humanity, the question that arose in a normal brain was that, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Or how did humanity deserve such a suffering? It prompts me to ponder over suffering, the nature of suffering as discussed in Indian philosophy. And in the course, I came across the analysis of suffering by Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra. Patanjali has analyzed sufferings in 5 forms. These are, for suffering, the Sanskrit word is klesh. And the 5 types of suffering that Patanjali has enlisted in his Yoga Sutra, the first is avidya, that is ignorance, asmita, that is egoism, rag, attachment, dvesh, aversion, and abhinivesh, that is clinging to life. It is due to these 5 afflictions that we perform our karmas, which are of 3 types. One is prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is those karmas that we performed in the past life, but the karma phala, that the consequence of those karmas we are going to experience in this life, or rather we are experiencing. Sorry. Another is sanchit karma. Sanchit karma is karmas that we are performing in this life, but the consequences have not started bearing fruits. And agami karma, that karmas that we are performing in this life, and the consequences will start bearing fruits in the coming life. So the receptacle, the karmas that we perform are, in a way you can say that it is compiled in a this compilation of karmas is known as the receptacle of karma or the womb of karma, and karmas wait for an opportunity to express themselves through these 5 afflictions. And this goes on. The karmas are sometimes so strong that one strong karma may demand a particular body or birth to express itself. And with it, the other closely related karmas also express themselves or cease to express or cease to produce fruits. And this goes on until one attains self-realization. It means that human life is conditioned by one's karmas, but this conditioning is not absolute, because there is freedom of will also. We are free to react on any incidents. such as when one reacts at the pain and suffering of others, then with negativity, then it rebounds in a very intense manner and causes more damage to the performer. But if one responds with positivity, causing happiness to others, then the karmic consequences cease and it in a way leads one towards freedom. When the health crisis, Corona, erupted, it meant that, of course, that health crisis was not for individual, but for humanity as a whole. And the health of man depends upon cosmic balance. And coronavirus has exposed the power of nature. In this context, I would like to refer three basic concepts of Indian philosophy, that is dharma, rit and rin. Dharma is righteousness. Dharma sustains the society and promotes the well-being of each and every person. All actions according to dharma just support the well-being of each and every person. It is dharma that leads man or society to make rules in favor of one's group or one's city or for one's country. But it must not be understood in the way that the rules made in favor of my city or my country would be against the benefit of other countries, other cities. It means whatever is according to dharma adds merit and well-being to human society. Closely allied to the concept of dharma is the concept of rit. It means that there is an eternal moral order in the universe, and that order must not be vitiated at any cost. When the coronavirus struck, it appears that this eternal moral order has been vitiated. I'm not going to deal in detail this point, but I would like to focus on another basic concept of Indian philosophy, and that is the concept of rin. The English translation of rin is debt, and the concept is that human beings, in whatever way they grow and whatever they achieve in life, in that context, they are not alone. They cannot just say that, or rather boast that I am a self-made man. Because in the building of one's personality, there is contribution from various sectors. Of course, parents, contribution of parents, everyone knows and realizes, but there is major contribution by one's gurus, one's society, and one's environment. Therefore, this concept of Rin is paying back to the society. Of all these three concepts, one can say that dharma is comprehensive, that includes ethical codes and of course religious codes also, and many more things. And rit is the logical concept behind dharma, and rin is the concept that prompts one to follow the path of dharma and rit. Now, after looking at these concepts, what we find is that one must not live for oneself, but for others whom we need to pay back. The crisis of COVID-19, as I said, that it has left behind all the past devastations, so it erupted into various types of crisis. Of course, the health crisis was there, but it brought to us the crisis of education, economy, values, crisis of values, and the crisis of peace and peaceful coexistence. Now, what to do? What would be the way out? Because the whole humanity, it has what to say, that put a jolt to humanity as such. Therefore, in this context, one may say that man as a being, what type of being is man? Man is a combination of body, mind, and soul. Man is psycho, spiritual, physical being. And what is needed is that all these three components of man is taken care of. And how to take care of all these three components? For that purpose, it is essential to realize that the whole humanity is one. Interrelatedness of the humanity. And to understand that interrelatedness, one must, rather, I would not say one must, cross the Indian philosophy, which is basically which is based on interrelatedness, or I should not have said that I came across. Indian philosophy emphasizes the interrelatedness of the whole creation. Man as such, or me as a person, is related to the entire globe, all the particles of the globe. And this interrelatedness is not a new phenomenon. Just we can say that coronavirus has exposed our interrelatedness. It has crossed, or it has shattered all the barriers created by man, as it affected all the creeds, genders, nations, and so on and so forth. And when the sympathy and compassion started outpouring, it also knew no boundary. So this interconnected, we all know that Indian philosophy is spiritualistic, And this interconnectedness is being highlighted by the philosophy of ecology, reaching its pinnacle in the philosophy of spiritualism. So this spiritual connection of the all phenomenon in this creation has been there. It is another thing that by this outbreak of coronavirus, we have started feeling like that. So I would like to say that, as I explained earlier, the concept of dharma, rit and rin, to explain the present scenario, so that we come out of the quagmire, that these values were explored and extended to human beings by our seers, Indian seers, 5,000 years ago. And we can say that it led them to develop the ethics that is individualistic. You know, Indian ethics is individualistic. It might surprise some people because Indians always talk about universality. But the ethics, Indian ethics is based on the precept that man has the capacity of making the world progressive or destructive. How can a man have all these capacities? For this capacity, one needs to develop the capability to distinguish between truth and falsehood, knowledge and ignorance. And it makes one realize the essence of freedom and the importance of responsibility, meaning thereby the duty-centric life could bring peace and harmony to the universe. So this duty centricity, how to develop it? As we all know that every disaster leaves behind some scars and some teachings as well. What is important is to learn that the scars don't turn out to be a wound and are diminished in a way that the crisis doesn't erupt again. So, as I also mentioned earlier, that man is a combination of physical, mental, and spiritual components. Therefore, it is important that all these three components are taken care of, and it doesn't mean that the primacy of mind over matter or matter over mind. It means taking care of the two simultaneously, and besides that, intentional practice, intentional spiritual practices would also be helpful, because through those practices, man can be able to just focus on the goal, to realize what is one's goal, and through mundane activities, one can concentrate upon the achievement of those goals. And all this could not be possible by the mere application of rules of morality and law. The simple application of compassion and healing would definitely do. How so? I would like to explain it that when, as in the beginning, I said that a man has two options of reacting at the suffering of others. If one reacts negatively, or in a way, I would begin with, if one reacts in a positive way, it shows one's spiritual strength. But those who are oblivious of that strength of oneself, that strength lies in me, and if I am oblivious of that strength, I would just react negatively. It may, so what should be the moral judgment at this context? The moral judgment, even if one is performing one's act as per moral laws, but one is not feeling pity at the suffering of others. One is applying moral rules only in a one, you can say, in a dry way. How could justice be ensured? Would that person be able to help the sufferer in a proper way? So, to my mind, in these contexts, simple rules of morality, justice, impartiality, or truthfulness would not fulfill the purpose, would not suffice. What would suffice is the consolation to that person, help extended to that person with compassion. And this compassion has the capability of making non-violence as the highest moral principle. What is non-violence? Non-violence is ceasing to hurt anyone from one's thought or one's speech or one's karma. And to the vast suffering humanity, to my mind, the method of this non-violence would be more appropriate, because the challenge projected to humanity is global, and global challenges demand global resolutions as well. Therefore, it is time for the humanity coming together and helping in the process of recovery to each and every one. So, I would like to say that on this International Day of Peace, what we need is to develop a culture of peace. It doesn't mean signing peace accords, but it means developing pluralistic attitude, developing the attitude that assimilates all the pluralities, all the religions, all the cultures, all the nations. But it does not mean that it does not mean that the differences or uniqueness be overlooked. It should also be taken care of, because at any level of difference, just such as political difference or religious difference, the basic difference at the micro level should be taken care of, should be resolved, and for the resolution of that difference, that type of difference, there can be no other tool more appropriate than that of ahimsa or non-violence. You know that India has 17% of world population and not so sound health infrastructure, but it has become an example of healing the populace with a humane touch. India has been taking care of the well-being of the masses, trying to minimize economic damages. And it is not only that it just stopped after that. India has been taking care of other countries. India's approach has been local, meaning thereby India has assimilated the local interests with the global interests, meaning thereby India has realized the slogan or the tenet of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in the treatment of COVID-19, and for which it has drawn accolades from the leaders throughout the globe. I would like to say lastly that a famous American political scientist, Francis Fukuyama, had said that citizens must believe that their government has the expertise, technical knowledge, impartiality, and the capacity to make proper judgment in the favor of their nation. And I am a proud Indian today to say that our Prime Minister enjoys this highest trust of all the citizens of India. With these words, I would like to extend again my thanks to all those who have been behind the arrangement of this program and all those who had the patience to listen to my words. So again, thanks to you all.
Thank you, Professor Abhaji. As usual, it was a pleasure to listen to you. Let me inform you that in our midst we have scholars like Professor Vedraman Pandey. He is the ICCR Chair for Hindi Studies. We also have Dr. Vinay Gudari, who is the torchbearer of Hindi language in Mauritius. So very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to add that Professor Abhasi has clearly highlighted the importance affected how the whole community gets afflicted. So you have been emphatic about developing a culture of peace that is the very edifice of interdependency of people, interculturality, acceptance of religious pluralism, which have resulted in terrorism, religious fundamentalism, language strife, as you have mentioned. I concur with you that peace within can be attained only when the body, mind, and soul are aligned symmetrically. However, this doesn't happen overnight. It requires dharma to remind us. It requires dharma and sadhana to remind us that we are not the body and we are not the mind. We go beyond the ego, where the individual consciousness at micro level is elevated at a micro level, and we seek oneness with nature, with everything, and with everyone. The Isha Upanishad thus extols Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. That is, the pure consciousness pervades everything. Professor Abhaji, thank you very much. Thank you for your last note, where you emphasized on the cultivation of compassion, that is karuna, and non-violence, ahimsa, as the primary moral principles in the process of peace building. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll probably have a small session of question and answers after our eminent speakers have delivered their presentation. So kindly stay tuned, stay joined. Thank you. We move on to our second eminent speaker today, and he is Dr. Ovidiu Christian Ledu. Dr. Ovidiu is a professor at the University of Bucharest in Romania. Professor Ovidiu holds double MA in philosophy from the University of Bucharest and also the University of Delhi. His PhD, he has written a PhD on the metaphysical system of Vijnanavad Buddhism, the three levels of reality, and the problem of their continuity. His published volumes include edited works in various languages, Latin, also including Hindi, and introductory studies, popular articles in newspapers, but also scientific articles, both in English and French languages. His areas of interest are Buddhism, philosophy of religion, Vedanta, Hinduism, liberal Christianity, amongst others. Today, Dr. Ovidiu will be speaking on From Knowing the World to Dealing with the World, a New Approach to Humanities. Over to you, Dr. Ovidiu.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Ovidiu Nedu. I'm from Romania, but I'm more connected to India than you may think. I studied in India, and I was very fond of India from early childhood, in fact. I remember even the first time when I heard the word yoga, I was very impressed by it. I don't know why, but later on in life, I started to study this topic. Actually, my presentation will not be very academical. It will be rather visionary, I would say. I understood that the session itself should be more focused on future, on what will be after these pandemics, than based on studies. So my speech is about how should humanistic education look like after these pandemics. My hints are that humanistic education, in spite of the fact that it looks like dying, it will not. In fact, I'd say that humanistic education is more needed than ever. Humanistic education is quite true. It doesn't provide much in economical life. These days, humanities die everywhere in the world, including in Romania. I'm teaching in a master's program in Bucharest, and this year that master program is under the threat of not functioning anymore because we don't have enough students. Somehow I'm not surprised by this situation, because obviously you won't get any job with a degree in religious studies. So I would say to some extent people are right when they claim that humanistics are of no use as degrees. But I say that humanistic education is very important for practical reasons, but not in the form it functions today. I would say that humanistic education should be somehow democratized, somehow should be spread to the whole society, and should not address itself to specialists. I mean, we should aim to general humanistic education, but not to forming specialists in humanities. So, surprisingly, I say humanities are even more practical than sciences. Why I'm saying this? Because a society somehow doesn't build by itself, doesn't build spontaneously. It's the decisions of the people that build a society, and those decisions depend on the humanistic formation of each individual. So I say that humanistic education is needed in order to build a society. And building a society may not seem a great thing, but in fact, a society is the frame that provides life to everyone. So humanistic education may not lead to any economic advancement, but it will lead to the general frame where economic life takes place. For example, distribution. Distribution is not based on a scientific model, but rather it is based on our humanistic considerations. That's why I said that for the welfare of a society, humanistic education is very important, but it should just go back to the, it should go down to the general level. So maybe at times when we speak about ignorance, we tend to think about scientific ignorance. Well, that's true. There is quite a high extent of scientific ignorance in the world, but I say that humanistic ignorance is even worse than that, because see, today is International Day of Peace. But what is the main cause of wars? If we think better, the main cause of wars is simply humanistic ignorance. Most of the people believe in funny concepts such as nations, for example. Even if you consider it a bit more carefully this concept, it doesn't have anything substantial in it. Nations are somehow some conventions. For example, I started to dig down into my origins, and I discovered that I'm a bit Greek, I'm a bit Bulgarian, my wife is a little bit Russian. So if we have a child, he will be what? So I say that nations are a proof of humanistic ignorance, and humanistic ignorance led to wars, which caused much more damage than all scientific ignorance put together. I think much fewer people died from, I don't know, from homeopathy, for example, than from wars. That's why humanistic education surprisingly has a huge impact upon the society, has a huge practical impact upon society. But the only problem with humanistic education these days is that it aims to a very unpractical goal, and that is forming specialists in humanities. Well, here I agree. Specialists in humanities don't have much use for society today. Somehow most of the humanistic studies are just, we have an expression here in Romania, but I think it's an international expression. Doing a PhD in most cases is just moving the bones from one cemetery to another cemetery. Unfortunately, this is quite true. Most humanistic papers don't say much new about anything. They are just some kind of proofs of erudition and knowledge. I think this kind of studies and this kind of approach to humanistic education should be dropped, and I think this would be an important thing to happen after this pandemic is over. In fact, I'm seeing somehow that these days humanistic programs are dissolving, but I think they should be reborn under a new shape, and that shape should be a popular shape. Humanistics should address to everyone, should be very easy to understand. So I would say that we have to replace the academical approach of humanistics with a more popular approach. We should simply go down to the lowest levels of understanding. I think we are all familiar with academical papers from humanities. They're very, very difficult to understand in most cases. Even for me, okay, I'm somehow following the main authors in my field, but when I have to read an academical paper, I have to pay a lot of attention to it. It's never easy reading, it's never accessible. So that's why they don't address too many people. You can't change society through this kind of through this kind of approach to humanities. This will be just an approach that addresses to a small circle of specialists, but doesn't go beyond that. So that's why I think somehow humanities became quite sterile these days. because they simply address to some already well-informed people. They don't go beyond that. They don't go to society. So that's why most people claim that humanities are useless these days. Yeah, they are useless because in most cases, specialists in humanities just talk to each other and don't go out from that circle. But if we change the approach, if we start to simplify our message, if we start to make easier to understand papers, if we start to write shorter papers also, because most of them are too long, honestly, I think we can bring some kind of change in society. And as I said, humanistic ignorance is really, really dangerous. All the social problems, in fact, are caused by humanistic ignorance. These days, Europe has a lot of humanistic problems, or a lot of political problems, which are due to humanistic misunderstandings of some basic concepts. For example, populist parties are on the rise these days everywhere in Europe. And this is just because we don't have a clear image about how society works. So I think humanities should simply deal with practical social problems. I think we should drop that kind of humanities which are more based on pure knowledge. For example, knowing some kind of art or studying literature. I think humanities should simply focus on how society works, on values or on politics, of course, so that it may have some kind of impact upon society. Actually, see, all people take decisions in the formation of a society by the simple fact that they vote. That's why through vote we build society. But most of us, let's be honest, we vote somehow without knowing properly what we vote. I used to have some kind of political options quite firm, but until recently I used to vote just some extreme parties which didn't have any chance. And only recently I understood how politics works, so I started to be more realistic in this approach. So I'd say that humanities should drop the target of forming specialists, should even drop the formal frame where humanistic education takes place. I think humanistic education should be focused more on adults than on students. So, and here I think the online programs have the major advantage. You cannot do humanistic education for adults for lifelong learning through physical attendance. Let's be serious somehow. No family man will go to school after job and after taking care of his family. The chances are very low that they will go for this kind of education. And that's why I think humanistic education should move online, because after coming back from job, after feeding your kids, after cleaning the house, you can easily watch a short conference or a short speech instead of watching TV. But it's very little probable that you'll go to attend some lectures. That's why I think humanistic education should be done online and should aim at educating adults, not students. In fact, in most cases, I think young people don't have the questions that for which humanistic education provides answers. Somehow, if we teach humanities to young students, we may give them some answers, but without them having the questions. That's why I think we should focus more on adults. We have a master program. We have some master program. One master program of religious studies in Bucharest. And surprisingly, the best students are not those in their 20s or 30s, but they're those who are in there because they are truly interested. Somehow, life brought them to the questions, and they come there with some very deep questions, with some questions that really turmoil them. But young people somehow just come there for just because they need a degree maybe, or because they have some kind of interest, but not a very well-defined interest. So that's why I think this should be the major shifts in humanistic education after these pandemics. We should first of all drop the aim of forming specialists, but we should target the general class. We should drop the aim of teaching to students, but we should, instead of that, we should teach to adults. And thirdly, we should use online instead of physical attendance. Basically, these are my suggestions or my thoughts about how humanistic education should look like after these pandemics. Basically, this is my speech. It's not academical because I thought it's not an academical session. I thought it's just a visionary session about how we see life after these pandemics. Thank you.
Thank you indeed, Dr. Ovidiu. It was nice hearing you. Especially your ideas have been very thought-provoking, I must say. So your argument justifies the imperative of humanistic education, which is at the core of the creation of a knowledge society. This is what I gather from your presentation. We need to build a knowledge society, and we need to popularize humanities instead of academic setups in order to reach out to the maximum in general people. And this is also what the Mahatma Gandhi Institute is trying to do. If you have heard our chairperson and the director general, this is the approach that they are trying to adopt and popularize humanities, and in our case, popularizing philosophy. So your appeal for the...
Can I add one more thing? I remember the quote. I forgot who said it, but the quote was that
the chairman of the Mr. Mahadev, who is the chairman of the MGI and OTI Council.
Pardon? Can I speak?
Yeah, please.
Okay, the quote was something like, we have a godly technology, but social instincts of the primitive man. So somehow that's why we need more humanistic education than scientific education. Okay, we are very advanced with scientific education, but we are still very, very primitive in terms of social education, in terms of social dealings. This is what
you're right. Yeah, you're right. Especially when we are moving towards, we are living in an information age, you know, and technologies taking over everything. So the place of humanities has to be emphasized so as to live a balanced life, I believe. So I would like to add that the School of Theological Studies, the Department of Philosophy, is currently working on a roadmap, you know, to democratize popular philosophy. And I believe, Dr. Ovidiu, we would need your support and collaboration in this endeavor. So I thank you again to be present with us and for your very brilliant ideas. Thank you, Dr. Ovidiu.
You also, thank you.
And welcome. Our next speaker is Dr. Richa Kapoor Mehra. And Dr. Richa Kapoor Mehra, after pursuing her undergraduate degree from Miranda House, Delhi University, she read a PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University. Her research interests are analytic philosophy, philosophy of mind, and philosophy of language. She has a good number of papers published to her credit. Some of her works are entitled as follows: Understanding Tribal Language and Culture, a Dravidsonian Interpretation; Universal Religion of Swami Vivekananda, a Reformative Approach; A Rejection of Subjectivity, Wittgenstein and Davidson; Ancient Ideologies for Social Change. Dr. Richa will be speaking on balancing peace from inner to outer. Welcome, Dr. Richa. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I extend my gratitude to the organizers of the Institute. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak in this forum. So, with your kind permission, I have prepared a small PowerPoint presentation. May I share it?
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Just give me 2 minutes and
We're able to see your slides, Dr.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to talk about balancing peace from inner to outer. So, as my fellow colleagues have been talking about and have been talking about peace elaboratively, and today, as we know that we are celebrating International Peace Day, and Professor Abha Singh has already covered almost most of the points, which so thank you so much. So. As I will just begin with this explanation of my title. So, balancing peace from inner to outer. By saying this, I am basically talking about role of mind, how important role of mind is for bringing peace to humankind. And I'm also in my coming slides, I'm also talking about peace, how peace has been interpreted, and how peace has been defined by various thinkers and philosophers. So here I go. So the entire presentation is divided into three main tasks. First task is what is peace. I'm going to talk about what exactly peace is. And then moving forward, I'm going to talk about what are the main reasons for the growing violence in our society and what can be done in the end. Like, third task is to understand the ways to eliminate such harsh feelings or negative feelings from society, and in the end giving up a conclusion by talking about Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga as a solution, as one of the solution to the problem. So here I go. So let's understand what is peace. Though we have been, as I said, and I was very much present here, engrossedly listening to all the speakers. So we have been talking about peace, what exactly peace is, and this peace, the word peace, apart from being pleasant word, or also refers to peaceful society and the beautiful world. So when we talk about peace, we have a view of peaceful society. Some this term gives can be stated as, when there was this launch of the YouTube channel, there have been so many videos, people talking about peace, from youth to senior citizens, all people talking about peace. So the point which I'm trying to make is, we all can sense that there is a sense of understanding of this word peace, and that is understanding as a state of mind which everybody aspires for. So there is an aspiration in each one of us, that peace is something which we should target or we should aim. But as we all know that in spite of the fact that this aspiration is there ingrained in each one of us, unfortunately, there we when we see surroundings, there are problems, there are violence, there are conflicts, there are disagreements. So, I mean, we have to look at the problem from a holistic perspective, and we have to ponder upon, and that's the reason we are gathered here today. We have to ponder upon the fact that though intrinsically we all have some sense of understanding of this term peace, and though all of us, almost all, aspires to attain it, but where is the gap? That is what I am intending with few slides in today's webinar. My intention is to make us all ponder upon the fact that what is that gap. And it is just an attempt, so I hope that we try to, maybe you may accept the solution or the conclusion which I am putting forward here. So, history of human beings in one aspect is a history of searching for peace. So we know that this there has been a search for peace throughout history. Peace has been taught, and studied in many ways and many aspects. So here I quote Dalai Lama's definition on peace. Peace, in the sense of the absence of war, is of little value. Peace can only last where human rights are respected, where people are fed, and where individuals and nations are free. So, according to the interpretation of the Dalai Lama, this definition, as you can see, that he is saying that it is absence of war is of little value, because it cannot be, the term cannot be narrowed to just this negative aspect of peace, which is absence of war, but it is also, it includes human rights, as previous speakers were talking about. We cannot just look at the term from that perspective. Rather, it is holistic in nature, where each and every individual rights are respected, people are happy, people are fed, and the nations are free. So I am also quoting here Spinoza's definition of peace. Peace is not an absence of war, it is a virtue, a state of mind, a disposition of benevolence, confidence, and justice. So let's understand this literal meaning. It is derived from the Latin word pax, which means a pact, a control, or an agreement to end war or any dispute and conflict between two people, two nations, two antagonistic groups of people. However, many peace scholars do not agree with giving an emphasis on peace in the sense of an absence of war only. Peace, in their opinions, is something more meaningful, more valuable, and important than that. So, what exactly is peace? So, I'm here saying that peace is defined as a state-free state of security and calmness that comes when there is no fighting or war, everything coexisting in perfect harmony and freedom. So, I'm talking about peace generally from two perspectives. One is internal and the other is external. And as I mentioned in the beginning of my session, that I am going to emphasize, as you can understand from the title, balancing peace from inner to outer, which means that the point which I'm trying to emphasize here is that internal peace, when we can achieve internal peace, then only external peace is possible. So when I'm talking about internal peace, as Professor Singh has already pointed out, I am here also emphasizing on spirituality, the concept of spiritualism according to Sri Aurobindo. So before that, I would like to talk about internal peace. It is called by another word, inner peace. It is peace of mind or soul. It is state of calm, serenity, tranquility of mind that arise due to having no suffering or mental disturbances such as worry, anxiety, greed, desire, and hatred. So as we know that we are, as Professor Singh was also talking about, human being as a construct of mind, soul, and body. So what are the reasons of negative feelings? What are the reasons for mental disturbances when our bodily desires, or when mental contents are not controlled by individuals, that results into performance of wrong actions. And when we perform wrong actions, we not only disturb our own, I can say that our mental, because there is unrest in individual's mind, and because of that unrest, individual performs wrong actions, and individuals wrong actions give rise to wrong actions in the society, or it impacts individual actions, impacts the individual's wrong actions, impact the other. So, internal peace is peace within oneself. It is derived from practicing or training of mind of an individual. So we know that there is a problem, and the problem is this lack of control of mind. So what is the solution we have? So solution, as per me, is training of the mind of an individual. Internal peace is essential. It is generally regarded as true peace and as a real foundation of peace in society or peace in the world. So I'm going to touch upon this, the methods which may give rise to internal peace. And as I have mentioned here, it is very, very essential. So before that, I'm going to also talk about external peace. External peace is peace that occurs in society, nations, and the world. It is a normal state of society, countries, and the world, and it is a state of peaceful and happy coexistence of people as well as nature. So, when I'm talking about coexistence, I just want to pinpoint here that I'm not just emphasizing on coexistence of human beings. I'm also talking about a holistic picture where I'm taking into consideration the cosmos as a whole. So it is not just confined, when I'm talking about external peace, of course, external peace is not just confined to one particular country or state, or various states or countries together. I'm talking about cosmos as a whole. So now let me take this task two. What are the main reasons for the growing violence in our society? So as I already mentioned, that the one of the main reason of growing violence in our society is uncontrolled mind, and also this uncontrolled mind leads to wrong actions by individual. And also, this is my interpretation, and I'm talking about here non acceptance of the other. So, when I'm talking about non acceptance, what I'm trying to say here is that there is a variance. There is, as we all know, I am talking from India as a country, from Indian perspective. We all know that India is a country of diversity. India is a country of largest diversity in languages, in religion, in culture, in nature, diversity in clothes, food, caste, color, etc. There are many forces that come in the way of our national integration. Often people have very strong feelings about their own religion and language, oppose those of others. So the point here is, when we don't accept this difference, when there is non-acceptance of the other, we emphasize on the differences and try to pinpoint on differences rather than accepting the other as it is. So we have to accept this diversity, various diversities in language and religion and so on and so forth. So when there is non-acceptance of the other, then clashes begin, and we think ourselves as different from the other. So the moment I'm saying different, of course there is a difference and there is a gap which is building in an individual and the other. Such occurrences damage our youth unity and prove to be a hindrance to our progress. So as we know that there is a urge, there is a demand for um, the there is a prerequisite for progress. Prerequisite for progress can only be achieved when we look at the problem holistically and we try to when there is a sense of acceptance in us. So acceptance in humanity as a whole. So we have to have various feelings, feeling of compassion, feeling of humanity, feeling of benevolence. That those feelings are very important, and when we look at things holistically, then we can have a positive mindset that leads to progression. So now I'm here talking about what is the solution to eliminate such harsh feelings from our society. And solution to the problem which I am giving here is to look at other as human being rather than focusing on the differences. We should look at others as part of this cosmic reality. As stated by Sri Aurobindo, we should think that the mind of men is sourced from supermind and is a power of supermind. Mind is a part and low expression of supermind. Sri Aurobindo says matter is the base of life and life is a combination of soul and mind. So let me just try to emphasize here. So, as per Sri Aurobindo, he is dividing the cosmos, talking about cosmic reality, and dividing it in seven planes. In seven planes, he is talking about cosmos in dividing cosmos into explaining it from in two hemispheres, where there is a upper um, hemisphere which is beyond time and space, that can be understood as uh, from metaphysical point of view. It comprises of Satchit Anand or divine, and there is a lower hemisphere which is of course bound by time and space, where life exists. So by stating that, we should think that mind of men is sourced from super mind. So he's trying to say that our existence is sourced from that divine mind. And it is important to accept each one as as part of this super mind living in this lower hemisphere, which is uh, which is bound by time and space. So here I talk about integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo. As again, I would say that Professor Singh was talking about yoga, very nicely explaining yoga. So Sri Aurobindo's yoga is slightly different from traditional yoga. The reason is that, from my understanding, as you must be aware, that the literal meaning of yoga is union. So, uh, in different schools of yoga, like Patanjali yoga, and yoga has been elaborately explained in Bhagavad Gita as well. There is a concept of self realization, and through self realization there is one, of course there are various methods attached to it. One can become, there is a sense of after attaining that stage, one can become one with the metaphysical being. Or so here, in integral yoga or Bindu, why I'm too much fascinated by this concept of integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo. The one of the reason is that according to Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, one can try to ascend to this super mind while we while living in this world. So that is the reason why I have emphasized here. So according to Sri Aurobindo, mind is the highest term reached in the path of evolution till now, but has not yet reached its highest potency, and calls current mind as an ignorant mind seeking truth. As we all know, because we are ignorant mind, that is the reason we at times we fail to control our mental contents, and that leads to unrest in society. But he also states that even though the human being is in ignorance, there is in every human being a possibility of divine manifestation. So, though we are ignorant beings, but as this life is given to us by the supermind, so he is saying that there is always a possibility of divine manifestation. And through this integral yoga, he's talking about this divine manifestation, and of course he's also talking about it in his theory of evolution. So Sri Aurobindo states that there is a possibility to open oneself to higher divine consciousness, which would reveal one's true self, remain in constant union of divine, and bring down a super mental force which would transform mind, life, and body. So to realize the above, one has the main objectives of Sri Aurobindo's yoga. So that realization Sri Aurobindo is talking about, and I believe that if every individual realizes that this life is of divine, this life is given to us by supermind, there is a possibility of reaching to that higher level of divine consciousness, then we can bring change in this world. So Sri Aurobindo says that by yoga we can rise out for falsehood into truth, out of weakness into force, out of pain and grief into bliss, out of bondage into freedom, out of death into immortality, out of darkness into light, out of confusion into purity, out of imperfection into perfection, out of self division into unity, out of Maya into God. All other utilization of yoga is for special and fragmentary advantages, not always worth pursuing, only that which aims at possessing the fullness of God is Purna Yoga or integral yoga. So as I was just listening to the introductory remark by Mr. Budna, then he was also talking about that peace cannot be achieved by force, it can only be achieved through understanding. And this understanding is very important. So, understanding of uh, integral yoga, I believe it is important for peace. So, integral yoga is the art of harmonious and creative living. Integral yoga warns against extreme tendencies which mislead people into lopsided development. By spiritual consciousness and ultimate truth, Sri Aurobindo directs to human being to arise in higher consciousness through meditation, sadhana, aspiration, faith, disinterest, love, and peace. So, in the end, I would just like to conclude by saying that Sri Aurobindo believes that a spiritual transformation by integral yoga can bring abiding perfection. Following the path of human ego would be transformed by divine spirit. This will result into universal integration of all beings, as spiritual unity will be established among all beings, thus giving rise to a peaceful society. So, thank you for your patience listening. I hope I was not too fast.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Richa Sharma.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Your presentation has been, okay, thank you, kind of you. Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Richa again. Your presentation has been very lucid, a lucid presentation, I must say. And your treatment of the concept of peace from the internal to the external has been very systematic. You highlight the importance of tolerance and acceptance as a requisite for success. That's very true. And you also highlight the most interesting concept of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, that is the evolution of the human being. It helps in reminding us not to become attached to the form, because what we are is transient. Man is a transient being. He is not final. The step from man to the superman is the next approaching achievement in the earth evolution. So you have referred to Aurobindo's model of synthesis to achieve this state of superhuman experience, that what we call, in other words, the Satchit and Ananda, or should I say Satyam, Shivam and Sundaram, truth, good and beauty, based on which the philosophical ideals of logic, ethics and aesthetics have been erected. Thank you again, Dr. Richa. Ladies and gentlemen, and especially all the participants who are with us online, I'll open the floor for a few minutes for question and answers if you have any.
Excuse me, ma'am, may I ask a question?
Yeah, so Dr. Nitin Kumari is with us from India, and she has it from India. Yes, Dr. Nitin, can you please introduce yourself and you tell us if your question is directed to which of our speakers?
Ma'am, it is. Pardon, ma'am, I couldn't hear you. Did you ask something?
Dr. Nitin
Kumari, an assistant professor. That I think everyone understands this. If there is a problem of comprehending this, I can translate it in English. Should I explain it in English? That it's mine and something is thine. And this is done by those people who character is needed. Because Udar Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam, earth is family. And it is for those people who are of generous character. Ma'am, here I just want to say that this issue can be addressed like this also, because dharma, it has three roots of Sanskrit language, which says dharate iti dharmaha, means whatever we will possess would be dharma. So can this dharma be changed as per times, as per the need of time and circumstances? Because if we can do, then I think the problem of eternal peace can be addressed. Kindly enlighten us, means at least to me, in this regard. Okay, ma'am.
Professor Abha?
Yeah, Vedika, I'm here. Yes, hello.
Yes, Professor Abha, could you hear the question?
Yeah, I heard it, and I would like to respond that I think Nutan Kumari was not audible enough, but what did I understand from the last portion of her question is that can dharma be redefined as per the needs of the day? So yes, of course, dharma may be defined as per the needs of man, according to the time and space as well, whatever is suitable to man. but suitability does not mean that it would be harmful for another. Dharma is always that which produces merit or goodness for human well-being as such. And dharma is that which doesn't put a harm at all to anyone, whether it is a man or environment or anything else. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am, very much clear. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Written for your question. I see Mr. Alok Tandon has raised his hand. Probably has a question for us. Mr. Alok?
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. My question is to both the previous speakers. I think it is good to highlight the spirituality of the tradition, but should we not think that what spirituality of thousands of years has given us? We have been invaded by the foreigners, made slaves, and still we are fighting amongst ourselves, and there is no peace, inner or outer. What I want to say is that can we have inner peace, and on that basis of inner peace, the peace in the world? The background of this question is that violence is not individual only. It is structural as well as cultural. So unless and until we address the structural issues of inequality, caste, subjugation, poverty, we cannot have peace outside. And without having having such structural imbalances, there can be no inner peace. So this whole idea of inner to outer is one-sided, and I fail to understand how can it lead to the cultural violence which we are facing today amongst us in India as well as outside in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before I request the respondents to react to your question, could you please introduce yourself? Professor Alok? Hello? Okay, so we will request the presenters to react to the question, please.
I asked the question. Would you not listen to me?
We listen to you, but we are not clear as to who you have addressed the questions. Who are the two respondents?
I think there is some network problem. So what I would like to say that this whole discussion is heading towards one-sidedness. The question is, had spirituality been able to lead us to the world peace, to inner peace, to social peace? We have been invaded by the aggressors, we have become slaves, and we are still fighting amongst ourselves. So this whole idea of bringing in inner peace without having changes in the structure of violence, that is poverty, inequality, caste subjugation, national and cultural violences, how can we have